staring back at me, stranger in the hall, frozen by the scene. Portrait seemed to fade, he lost his centerpiece. Can't recall his face, I hope he'll rest in peace. Haunted by my mind, victim or the prey. Everything is fine, take me to my grave. Bury me alive, keeping me astray. Hard to say goodbye to who I am today. Everything is fine, take me to my grave. Haunted by my mind, victim or the prey. Everything is fine, take me to my grave. Bury me alive, keeping me astray. Hard to say goodbye to who I am today. Haunted by my mind, victim or the prey. Everything is fine, take me to my grave. Bury me alive, keeping me astray. Hard to say goodbye to who I am today.
Welcome to the LXC.
Down in the rift again, where champions ascend. Warden League lights the night, diamond dreams burn bright. Tournament's heart beats fast, LXC is here at last. Amateurs with skill to prove, in this battle groove. Diamond wreck, shining pure, victory is near for sure. In the LXC.
For the top tower, Andromeda going
Okay,
in.
there's the engage from Andromeda. The Galio's been over the top. Baywa staying alive for now. Misfortune builds up the range, gets space to cast the bullet time. And this is looking real nice for Dorado. The Vault Breaker back. Cuddle Bear flashes away underneath the turret, trying to stay alive. Mocha, the last turret shot will come through. Underneath the turret they go. They take down the Zeri. And they only lose one in the process. 3 for 1. Dorado in the mid lane. The concussive blows. But Forrest, the spell shield already been forced out. The taunt comes through from the Galio. There's Peels coming in on the flank. The Braum flashed away, tries to stay alive, and the Yone has found the Zeri going into the GA here, but I don't think Cuddle Bear is trying to flash over the wall. Actually kind of a slick move there from Cuddle Bear. Does manage to skirt away from the fight, but it's still not going in favor of down onto the Kindred. True Shot Barrage not quite going to find the mark. Nice arcane shift there to get away from the hostile taker. Herald down to about 2,000. Is going extremely low. Valka, though, does run out of HP. The bailout is not going to save the Garen. But now Andromeda separated from the rest of the team. Beautiful flash there from the Maokai. Gets away from the bullet time. And now Andromeda left out to dry. Oh, that last little tick of the Wings of War actually is going to take down Mocha. So that is, at least one kill back for the Galio.
But it's really
okay, that's a flash away for rescue. The needles come out, and Chiri just absolutely eviscerates him. Valka comes in on the flank here. He is going to try to drop the sword, but he just dies too fast. The Garen just got absolutely cut in half there, and Forrest's going to get killed off as Ezreal arcane shifts forward. And meanwhile, Alternative is just doing some
Hello and welcome to the LXC Season 2 Winter Split Warden Week 3. Tonight we have ID Ignite versus Akuma Scimitars. You have me on play-by-play, have your cat, and joining me tonight is...
Hey, my name is Dira. I'm going to be your color caster tonight, and they should be some fun games. Two really highly hyped up teams. Currently not having the greatest results going 1-1, but we'll see who takes it today.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'm not super familiar with a lot of the players in this league. It's not one that I regularly attend, but I am here filling in, so a lot of the player information I will be leaving to my wonderful color caster here. But hopefully it'll be excited.
Yeah, so these are some two pretty well-known orgs and pretty well-known teams with some well-known players. ID Ignite a lot of people may recognize from some other leagues like Aegis and VOL, and they're usually a top contender with big names like CB Batman and Rigor Mortis, as well as some other maybe lesser known names, but still very good players in Keeching and Kush and Loki. And they, I remember, were one of the teams that was definitely seen as like one of the biggest threats. And even though they're currently 1-1, I'm sure they'll show it today. On the other side, we have Akuma Scimitars, which Akuma did have a team in Warden last split that ended up making semifinals, and there are some returning names like X Fluke, who is in my opinion, really solid ADC, as well as some familiar faces from other leagues like Sang Juni.
Yeah, and I heard this week is decently important, as with the format goes. If one side, why don't you go ahead and tell Dira? I'm not super familiar with the format here.
Yeah, so this matchup's pretty important because this matchup would decide who goes 2-1 into Rivals Week, which Rivals Week, for those not familiar on the stream, is a week where you are going to be playing against your opponent in another group, based on seeding. So if you are first place in Group A, you will be playing against the first seed in Group B. So it's a really important matchup to determine what that seeding is going to look like going into Week 4 and seeing who your opponent may be.
Interesting, interesting. So last week both teams went week 1-1, I believe. Or sorry, last stroking out already. Both teams are 1-1 going into this week. Are there any favorites that you're aware of on who's actually going to take this match?
Yeah, so I think this is going to be a pretty close matchup. I do expect this one to go to 3 games. Both teams are very strong, both very strong on paper, having only lost one match, but against two very strong teams. ID Ignite taking down the champions in week 1, and then losing to Contingent Esports Black, which I believe are 2-0 at the moment, as well as Akuma losing week 1 to No Direction, and then taking a win against Team Death Knights Blue.
Okay, interesting. So going into this draft here, can you tell us a bit about the win conditions that you think both teams are going to play for?
Yeah, so obviously not having seen these teams, I can only be up to speculation. However, looking at these different players, I do see both sides having a really strong side top laner. And from what I've seen on stream with Xfluke, Xfluke is going to be mainly looking to play these like utility champions, I've seen the Ziggs and the Jin, and champions like this. So I imagine both teams are actually going to be playing pretty heavy skirmish around top side with their carry top laners, just looking to get some action maybe around the grubs or get a lead and then just completely snowball out of control with their jungle and support roaming.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see. A lot of times we don't see heavy top play in the meta. People tend, especially in M100 leagues, to normally play around bot laners. So it'll be interesting to see a top side favored match here. Not something we always see. I believe with the new patch notes, there was also a bit of priority shifted down towards Dragon and away from Grubs. While we wait on draft, I'll pull up the exact notes because I'm not 100% sure. But I believe they did try and move some of the attention away from that Grubs objective. So it'll be interesting to see if that'll have any effect going forward in this match.
Yes, for sure. I mean, yeah, I do think that even though those were nerfed, I do still think grubs are very, very powerful. They're just so good for getting especially that early objective. As we do actually are now moving into draft, I do imagine that ID are gonna look to take away some of these like prio picks, like maybe the Ziggs or the Jin or the Mel actually, because the Mel is enabled now as well, and that champ is insanely strong right now.
Yeah, that champ has been a little bit of a nightmare for me, and we see it here banned first by ID Ignite. Response from Scimitars with Jarvan, Ignite firing back with Pantheon.
Yeah, and Pantheon Jungle is actually something that's recently gotten a lot of popularity with the I think it was Spica is the one who popularized it and has been getting a lot of play as a flex pick. As we do see Ari come out, which I believe that's just a very comfy champ for Loki in the mid lane. And
Mhm.
so and just always so versatile and hard to punish as a champ.
Yeah, one of my mains in a competitive setting, this would be a league I would be able to compete in, and she just provides a lot of great versatility, especially in a blind, and even if they're not an Ari player or one trick, so strong. Similar story with Syndra. Syndra right now, pretty much top of the meta in mid lane. And then Aurora, that's a targeted ban, I believe. There's a pretty big Aurora player here.
Yeah, so it just looks like a lot of target bans mid with Akuma's mid laner being a very, very strong Syndra player, and Syndra being, in my opinion, one of the best mids in the patch. Definitely a very good ban to take away. It was what I listed as like one of the biggest bans. And then Aurora, Ari Aurora seems like a very strong pick. As we see the Hui come out, which actually is a flex pick for ID, because I do know that both their ADC and mid have time on it in both solo queue and in their recent matches.
Yeah, mage mids right now are performing really well. Hui especially very strong in both mid and the APC position. A lot of flexibility, really good first round blind, especially if it's a pick that both your AD and your mid can play. You have a lot of options. Kesante kind of similar. Um, Strong champ right now, very versatile. Even his bad matchups are far from unplayable. Be
Yeah,
interesting.
Cassante is just one of those champions that just kind of can always be useful and is just honestly so blindable because even if he's in a bad matchup, he can usually just kind of free farm with the shields plus Q and then be just a menace in team fights and just kidnap your carries.
Varus. And it looks like they're going to lock it in. Still hovering. Yep, they're going to lock in
Yeah.
Varus. More
Yeah,
safe, not super committal. Strong poke, strong team fight. Can fit a lot of roles, especially with that build versatility.
yeah,
So neither team so far really committing to a play style.
Yeah, Varus is also one of the strongest ADCs on the patch, and it makes sense with the way that they actually typically likes to play more of that poke slash utility style. Makes complete sense. And also Varus giving the versatility between going the lethality and the on hit. I think it's a very strong pick, especially blind.
Xin Zhao by ID Ignite. Another champ that's doing decently. Actually, not so sure. Decently well on the patch, but I don't think it's a super meta pickup. But far from bad at the moment.
Yeah, and I do know also just from playing against Drig in another league, like this is a champion that I think they prio pretty heavily. Like it's I think Wukong and Xin are the ones that he played the most last season in a draft league that I played against him in. And Seraphine locked in. Seraphine Xin Zhao
Mhm.
is such a deadly combo with the Xin Zhao being basically infinitely tanky in the R against range champions, and then Seraphine just being able to get that extra reach.
Works massively well with Hui to Hui thrives off grouped teams, especially with that EE into R combo. Any big Seraphine lead with a Hui follow-up engage can shred an entire team very quickly, keep them held down, and then the Xin Zhao entrance as well. Very good team fight comp so far here from ID Ignite. And then Zyra is going to be last of the first set of picks. Um, let's see, Zyra jungle, I believe, no?
Yeah, it's most likely a flex. I'm not exactly sure. It's like a pretty even matchup bot lane. Zyra does provide a pretty good champion for disengage, but I do kind of worry about her just getting kind of outpoked this game because she doesn't have as much range as Seraphine and Hui. But the Olaf ban I think is actually really really good because Olaf with the Seraphine buffs can go completely havoc, especially with Akuma right now having a mainly CC focused team comp with not a lot of damage yet.
Yeah, it would be really scary for Zyra or Varus having an Olaf running them down. K-Scott can deal with it decently well, but horrifying on a line mage like Zyra to see an Olaf coming at you. You really have basically no counterplay other than dodge his Q and pray your team can kill him.
Yeah, the other ban I expect to come out of ID is a Leona or a Nautilus or Rel ban, just because the Hui and Seraphine are pretty susceptible to those dives, and I do think they can be really that can be a really big threat. So it looks like Ambessa is the one getting banned, another just really strong champ that if you know how to pilot well can completely take over a game. Almost feels pick ban in pro play right now. And it's just a good takeaway, especially from someone as strong of a player as CB Batman.
Yeah, and it's a little scary in this comp too, especially if they're building even heavier into poke. Like Zyra Varus already is a bit of poke disengaged, but the public execution is such a good engage tool, especially for the Nambessa. And once she's on you, it's really hard for you to stay alive. She does so much quick damage. Absolutely shred backline of Akuma, especially if they start to take more squishy backliners here.
Yeah, and
And
I imagine they may just decide to lock a mid laner here just to keep the Zyra flex up. But we'll have to see. I do think they need a bit more engage this game though. Okay, yeah, the Rel also a shared pick for both supports is actually a really good takeaway, because it works really well with if they want to go like the APC route, and also just has so much dive for their backline and gives them that engage tool they need.
yeah, they really do need a go button here if they ever want to start a fight. Zyra, Varus, Cassante, not great champs to lead a fight. You can pray that you'll land your chain on Varus, but if you miss that, you have no follow-up. I really like the bans here from ID Ignite, two champs that could really screw over this comp, Rom and Rakan. Rakan can dive on your backline really easily and get a big CC chain, especially when you're squishy. And Rom as well, big takeaway, could completely screw over Seraphine and Hui. Leona hovered.
Yeah, so I think this confirms that it's going to be Seraphine APC unless they send the Seraphine to mid, which would be really surprising. Kind of the same logic as Akuma. They wanted that extra go button, so they weren't relying on Xin Zhao being primary engage. But I am a little bit worried for this Akuma lineup because they are getting really heavily outranged, and if Rel's not able to get a good engage with Flash, her not having Flash could make it really hard for them to enter fights, especially if they set up first. As we see the Camille, which is actually a pretty ballsy blind pick, in my opinion. There's a lot of champs like Renekton that can completely just shut down that champion if they get a small lead into the Camille.
Yeah, that's true. Camille, though, is still very strong on patch, and I'm not sure what champs he would be able to lock in here that can synergize well with the rest of the comp and shut down Camille. Um, their comp, well, he already has Cassante picked, so it's not that risky of a blind exactly, because it's just mid that's left to pick. Galio makes a bit of sense. There's going to be a lot of threats here. You're trying to peel away from your Zyra and Varus, but I'm not sure if it leaves you with enough damage to actually kill Seraphine and Hui here.
Yeah, I feel like this Galio pick just forces this Varus to play on hit now, which I don't think that's what he wants here. I think he wants to be able to poke and just be out of the threat range of Leona and Camille. But I think with this Galio, you just have like if Zyra is not like massively ahead, I feel like they just don't have the damage, especially against the Xin Zhao ult. How do they damage this Xin Zhao in fights with Seraphine shields and his ulti? I think it's pretty. It makes sense for the disengage onto the Camille Leona engage and with Xin Zhao. So I understand that. I just don't know if they're just gonna. I feel like this Varus has to get such a lead with Zyra in order to be able to make this comp work. Otherwise, they're just gonna be kind of solo damage, especially into the Seraphine shields.
Yeah, and Galio's not even a great pick into Hui. It's a decently annoying matchup. Hui has a lot of poke to poke Galio out in lane, and good CC to deal with him later on. If you get on top of Hui, of course, as Galio, then he's still super vulnerable, but not a matchup I would really want to opt into here as well, especially with the rest of this team. So much pressure from the Akuma side lies on this Varus, a little less so on Zyra. He has to be the main exporter of consistent damage if they want to kill any of the chunkier members of ID Ignite. And I'm not sure how he's going to be able to do that, really. Hui and Sarah are looking super safe unless Relp finds a crazy angle in these fights. I'm just not so sure how you play these fights and this game out as the Akuma Scimitars.
Yeah, so I was actually about to ask, but I mean, it seems like you have your answer on who won draft. I really think that this ID team is just going to be a really big threat unless Akuma are able to get a good lead. I mean, if they're able to shut down this Varus or this Zyra and not have them become a really big threat or like let them get fed, I feel like they just don't have a way to deal with the ID team. They just have so much more range, but then they also have really good tank busters in Camille, because the Cassante into the Camille should in theory just like completely get ran over once Camille starts hitting those items. And in fights, I just don't see anyone that kills this Xin Zhao and Hui and Seraphine outrange the Varus and Zyra. So it is a little bit strange of a team, but I think this team comp for Akuma is just gonna come down to can Zyra get a major lead just by just out farming and outpacing the Xin Zhao because of the clear speed?
Yeah, maybe, but that's about one of the few advantages she has. And it's going to be a really rough game. ID Ignite has a lot of win cons they can play for here. Xin Zhao, Hui, Sarah, all really good primary win cons. Any of them get strong, and it's so hard for Scimitars to respond. And Camille as well, if she gets too strong, she could become a massive threat in a 4-1 or in the team fight. Just so many vulnerabilities of the Scimitars line up here into a lot of the strengths of ID Ignite's team. I don't think they have a better split push, and I don't think they have a better team fight. And I'm not even certain they have a better neutral. It's gonna be really rough, but it'll be interesting to see. Maybe they have something in store. Maybe they have something in store that I just don't see, or maybe they'll simply win lane, win game. But just looking at comps here, I feel really confident that ID Ignite has a better draft.
Yeah, it'll be interesting, and I do think that the good thing about their comp is that if I do become impatient and don't let that Hui and Sarah just get like good poke, if they screw up and engage, they do have a lot of disengage tools and CC, and so if their carries are not able to do the damage on the engage, or if they get just impatient, take fights really poorly, Akuma can just kind of get tanky enough to where it just doesn't matter because their carries just don't have the gold. However, I think in an even game state, this game can get really, really tough.
Yeah, it'll just be a bot lane show, I think. For Scimitar, it's going to be a lot of focus down there, getting this Varus ahead. He is going to be the man leading the charge here. If Varus gets behind, I don't see a way forward for Scimitars. Cassante can't really carry this game out. Galio can't really carry this game out. I don't think Zyra has the sustained damage to do anything to his Zhao or the range to touch Hui Seraphine. So it will just be a game of who has the better bot lane, and it better be a really, really better bot lane if Scimitars want a way into this game.
Yeah, for sure. I do think Fluke has shown very good prowess on that Varus, and I do think that that Varus can take over this game if he gets ahead because I mean they do have mostly AP damage and they do have the peel with the Galio against the Camille, so hopefully they can do that, but it's just gonna kind of come down to team play, and we will have to see how these teams end up using that draft to get that win on both sides.
Okay, yeah, I agree. Good assessment. We'll have to see how it plays out in game. As for right now, I believe we are headed towards the spectator break, so we will see you back here in about 2 to 3 minutes. But as for now, sit tight, and we will be back with Week 3, LXE Season 2, Winter Split.
I never see the lights out. They get me overdrive. Fancy on a fast car. This is how you make me feel. Don't stress me now. I got the overdose. I'm feeling it in my bones. And if you say that I'm lying to you, this
Hello and welcome back to LXC Season 2 Winner Split Warden Week 3. This is Game 1 of ID Ignite versus Akuma Scimitars, and it looks like we're starting off with some content. Wing forward on Rel, Mrs. Kush. Not actually going to see anything on the invade, but they're going to keep going. Try to get some vision here. No rest for the wicked. Already off to a interesting start. But I think they're just going to trade wards. Mana flow band, first strike, GG. Game's over. We can call it.
Yep, that's what I always say whenever I get that proc. I'm like, I got 5 gold and I got a mana flow stack. It's
Wait,
over.
Dira, hold on. Galio did get the ward CS. We might still be in the game. I think they are dead even on gold. It has to be so close.
It's gotta be. I do like the ward
Oh, never
control
mind.
that both teams have had with the blue side warding both bot side to make sure that they left and didn't do like some cheese split map and screw over the Xin. But it just looks like both junglers starting top side. I imagine both of these teams are just pathing down early. Xin Zhao probably just looking to counter the Zyra bot side, since I think top lane should just be going pretty even just until Camille starts getting items.
Yeah, top lane here is... Not only is it a bit of a snooze fest, it's also just not that important for the game as a whole, especially considering the one-man army that is going to have to be played for on red side in the Varus. Interesting look at runes here. Everything pretty standard, except for the Phase Rush Galio. Phase Rush Galio, not an insane thing to go, but it does show that he wants to go a little more damage. The D-ring start as well, and I think he kind of has to here. Really low damage comp on the side of Akuma Scimitars. So I think it's a decent adaptation, but damage Galio is always a little iffy in my book. Who knows? He could still go the Hollow Radiance build. Pretty standard. And Hui's just gonna be free farming first strike this lane, I fear.
Yeah, and I do like the first strike from the Hui, just into the Galio, just melee versus range can like free proc that unless he gets hit by a Galio Q that's well timed. The Galio phase rush, I think just the logic behind that might just be that he wants to have a little bit of way to catch when he goes in and have that movement speed on either the taunt or just like afterwards to try to see if he can keep up with their high range carries, but it is a little bit interesting. I do think he's still probably going to go tank just because they are pretty heavy magic damage. But we'll have to see as wow, really
Massive
trade.
trade. Yeah, it's really hard when you're playing a mage, especially whenever your CC is down, to not lose like 60% of your HP to a Galio. He does a ton of damage in the early game whenever he lands that E. Oh, Leona trading back in. Ian forward, big CC down, but Kush, the crash down misses just a little bit. But Pillar of Autumn is sitting right here, right out of sight. But I don't think any fight's actually gonna go. Zyra's gonna get the back off, and no blood shed yet.
Yeah, just pretty standard stuff. Both junglers full clearing and just basing. However, the Xin does have a little bit more tempo on the map just because he didn't go for that scuttle and he's just going for the top scuttle now. But it seems like Galio's actually looking to scout out that Xin, so maybe they're looking to make a play on him on this scuttle. It could be pretty scary as right now Camille's like half HP right now.
They could. Top lane wave state's not great for it either. He's also a little too far forward. Clawed down 1 HP, flash forward by Rigor Mortis, and first blood goes to ID Ignite and Rigor Mortis. It's a great person to get an early kill on, since Zhao can really run away with this game if Ignite's not careful.
Yeah, I think Galio just was not respecting that Xin Zhao was most likely top since the scuttle was gone, and they both junglers started top side. And what I thought he was just going to make a play with Zyra was actually just clearing. So even though Zyra does have tempo on her camps because she's been clearing while Rig was fighting, I do think that's just overall like just a bit of a either a miscommunication or just a misplay from the Galio. It looks like he just went too deep for the ward, not respecting where Rigor Mortis was on the map.
Yeah, I think that one's more on the Galio. If anything, Zyra doesn't really want to fight here since I was still super strong. Even though she got a better starting back, both gold-wise and starting item-wise, it's really hard to fight a Xin Zhao early as two people that do just get out-sustained by both Xin Zhao and Wei. They both just do a little more sustained damage, Xin Zhao especially. And I just don't know if it was much of a look. Got a little pincered and overconfident. Zyra, though, starting Dragon, it looks like.
Yeah, so this is one of the main reasons Zyra is so powerful and competitive in the jungle is her objective control, early game especially, is just so strong with the plants. She can just melt every single objective. So if she's able to get prio, which it looks like her bot lane has been, she can just kind of walk to an objective just and insta take it with very little help even needed from her bot lane. And it's just one of the things that makes Zyra so strong is just how hard she can outpace most junglers. However, like where she suffers is just her ganks can be a bit weak early.
Yeah, all of these lanes are really hard for her to gank. Lanes are normally pretty hard for her to gank. Mid is probably the most gankable big CC and setup from Galio, especially if Hui's not careful. His CC is pretty hard to defend ganks with, especially for multiple targets. But we do see the 6-minute dragon taken by Zyra and going for a second objective too, wanting to take rubs. Kraydog is up on that top side. Kisante going to be roaming down as well as Galio roaming up, so I don't really think there's going to be a contest here. Be interesting to see if there'll be a play happening on to Fluke in the bot lane, but I think he's decently safe. So it's just going to be a second objective going to Scimitars.
Yeah, and I really like what Autumn has done so far. Just looking to completely outpace, and honestly, even though ID did get the kill, having the first two jungle objectives is so powerful for the feats of warfare. Plus, just overall the game state. Zyra just getting
Going
so much
all
value.
out here, but CP Batman's just gonna walk away. He's toying with him. Hextech ultimatum issued. Rigor Mortis is right there. Kesante so low, but he flashes away. And I think that's the end of the fight. And at the end of the day, that is a better play for ID Ignite, in my opinion. Flash used from Cassante, no other suns burned. Wave state's not super great for him as well. Pushing in, Batman's probably going to get this last wave here and back unless he looks for something absolutely insane. A little bit of a look here in mid. Loki's low, the E is just a little bit short. Leona's gonna E in, even with Kraydog right there. Unending Despair lands on Galio. QW Rel comes in to try and mitigate some of that damage, but it's not enough. The Unending Despair takes out Marcian, takes out Galio, and Kraydog gets away low HP, and that is really bad for this mid lane. Another kill actually going on to... No, kill does go on away here, sorry. And with the wave state how it is, no TP from Galio. That is really, really bad. Zyra's gonna cover wave. Rig is looking top, gets spotted on a ward, but...
Yeah, just like really bad overall map awareness from this Galio. It just seems like he's really underestimating the missing champions on the map. Just both times going for like greedy plays, and then just plays where he just thinks he's alone and then he just gets jumped and dies. Like overall, just like I think he just thought he was tankier, or just didn't understand that the support. As we see the
And Kush having to flash Chains of Corruption from Fluke. It's a good look, but not going to land. But getting a flash for it, about all you can hope for, especially when you're throwing it from what is basically its max range. Big CD though.
Yeah, getting that flash early is actually super impactful. As we look into, I believe, a dragon in about like 2 minutes, the Varus ulti is going to be up. The Rel flash is available. I do think they can just make a play onto Seraphine next fight, and she won't really have any sort of peel because her Leona can't really do anything into that kind of engage. So I think that was actually really smart by Fluke. Just even if he wastes his R, just getting that flash before the objective is really impactful.
Yeah, I agree. It was a really good look. Both Varus, both Autumn and Fluke taking a reset here. He's probably going to want to look for a reset soon. He has to be close to finishing out his item? 800. He's pretty close. I can't remember off the top of my head what the completion cost for that one is.
So like most of that gold lead is just on that Hui, which is I think exactly who you want that on. Because Hui, if he gets that gold, like he gets that 2 item, 3 item spike, he completely murders everybody. And
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
I just don't think that, especially with the fact that outside of Rel, they don't really have the greatest dive. Hui can just get completely unleashed this game.
Yeah, I think Hui is going to be absolutely massive. The CS lead starting to expand as well. He has a pretty big gold lead over Galio, and especially on these objective fights. Dragon just now coming up much stronger on items, both on gold he's sitting on and the actual items he has in his wallet. And Galio going in again. Unending Despair lands. He's going to get slowed down. Rig looking. He flashes 2 inches forward, but it's going to be enough to deter Rig from an engage. And now it looks like we have everyone in the mid lane. But that's Galio's flash down. Hui ult down, though. Also big. Lot of strength, especially in these fights. But Inner Track now held by IT Ignite, and I think they're just going to trade Grub for Dragon here. But it's going to get taken so fast that Scimitars is going to have to be really quick if they want to take those Grubs.
Yeah, I think both teams are pretty happy with this. Not giving up the 6 scrubs to the Camille is really good for Akuma, just because this Cassante at a point will just not be able to deal with this Camille anymore. This Camille will just be way too strong. As Fluke looks like he's about to get caught.
Yeah, Hero's entrance here as well. Flashes cleanse Leona just under half now. Low has to flash over wall. Rig's ult down as well. Might look back here on Galio. Galio's really strong though. Rig doesn't have a ton of damage yet. Only has Tiamat. And all the while, Autumn gonna pick up the grubs. And
It looks like we're getting a top lane dive here. CB Batman's doing his best to not get the wave under tower so they can force out the dive. And it looks like both dives actually fail here. So
it's a
overall, it's
really,
a pretty even trade.
really hard luck to dive Camille here. She's really healthy. She has tech ultimatum to dodge any damage and abilities coming her way. They're just trying to go for an invade here, but Rayek is still able to snipe away his Gromp. Oh, CB Batman, Hextech ultimatum onto Pillar of Autumn. Baromancy as well. Sanjuni flashing over the wall, goes all out on CB Batman. Rig 1 HP, running away, but he's not able to escape, nor is CB Batman. Grey Dog looking onto Loki here. Loki thrown over into River, and it's 1 versus 4. Hui against the world, flashes over the wall. He might just escape. Crashdown's gonna catch him though, and the Lasher from the bush secures the kill. Feat of Warfare as well. Big shutdown onto Zyra, and a pretty massive gold swing. 2 or 3k gold, I believe. Scimitars were behind going into that fight, and just a really forced look from Batman. Didn't know everybody was on that top side, and big fight for Scimitars to get back in this game.
Yeah, I think they just expected to have a little bit more damage onto their team, but just the Camille. I don't think she had the Triforce yet, and she just they just did not have enough damage on that engage. And then
another look here. Leona's just gonna walk away. The crash down actually goes over her head, and it's hard to secure a kill like that on the Leona, even though she is a poor little lonely level 6 support. Just so tanky from her W.
Yeah, it looks like overall, Akuma's actually saved a lot of this game state. This Zyra is getting pretty strong, already having that Leandries, which is so big for this next fight. But we do see that the Rel does not have flash this fight, as it looks like some trading mid, but not looking.
Yeah, it's not a trade that's going to amount to much at this point in the game. Both of these players aren't really going to do anything to each other, especially when we're starting Archangel staff here on Hui. That's a really defensive look. It's okay if you're ahead, but I would have liked to see more initiative and maybe a Blackfire Torch. I kind of understand it a little bit. You really want a lot of mana if you hope to chunk out a Galio in lane, but I just don't think that's something you can ever achieve even with more mana. But it does give him a little more resist when he gets looked on here. And I don't hate a lose more or lose less idea. Engage here from Cray Dog. Crash down. Ult comes out as well. Chains of Corruption land onto Leona. She is low. The Eclipse gonna peel away the Zyra a little bit. But she falls. Hextech Ultimatum on top side on the Judy, but he pushes Batman away with W. Goes all out to get closer to his turret. And a beautifully played escape from Sanjuni using the shove to knock Camille out of her Hextech Ultimatum to free himself from his shackles. And he escapes with his life. 200 years of collective game design. And they're under tower now as well. CB Batman low. Tower's about to fall. Dodges Q3. Hero's entrance coming down. Ult as well from Xin Zhao. CB Batman so low. 1 HP. Falls to Galio. Rig now too. But he gets the kill onto Kesante. And now 1v1 slap fest. But Galio going to clean it up for the double kill.
It's just an absolute bloodbath, but I mean, Akuma just doing a super great job of just keeping really good tempo on these plays. Just like every single time ID's looking for something, they're also looking for something on the map. Doesn't look like they were able to get that tower, so I think ID technically did win out on the play. But this Galio just getting a lot of value, just like every single time they're looking for a play, countering it, and then letting his team look for something on the other side of the map. Just like really well done.
No, I think Scimitars went out on that play pretty heavy. They did lose tower. Well, actually, I'm not sure. It's a little iffy here. I do just got to give my compliments to Songjuni again on the Kisante. That was beautifully played, especially keeping the HP there as well to even get to that position. And he played around that fight so well. Only thing that really missed was 1Q3, but so hard to land on the Camille when she's passiving away. And it looks like another dragon going to be taken pretty much for free by Scimitars. Rick going to trade it for the Rift Herald. Just a bit of a handshake.
Yeah, and so far it looks like Scimitars is just really doing really well with their comp. This Galio is so hard to kill and just stopping a lot of the plays that they're trying to make, while Zyra is just able to completely outpace the Xin Zhao, just getting like every single objective. And actually, one of the things that Akuma's draft is really good at is if when they're set up, if ID has to engage into that comp, they do have the Zyra ult. They do have
might be looking here. Crash down and ult as well. The Leona's so CC'd, but so is Kraydog. Hero's entrance gonna pick up 2 bottom, 1 HP under tower. Taken out by the Talon Strike. All out on the backline on Xin Zhao as well, but Loki is so low on top falls. Varus dies as well, though a lot of sustained damage of Scimitars. Sanjuni low, in all out. Galio low as well, and they're gonna get run down. Can they escape? CC just barely by Kush, but the Q doesn't land to get the XE damage. And it's going to be a 2-for-3. Really close fight, almost so much worse for Scimitars, but there might be a little bit more here. They're gonna go for the tower. If they're not careful, there might be a look. CB Batman chunks up Galio so heavy. He's almost under tower, but this play has got to end at some point. They're just gonna back now, let the Herald fall into tower, and a really good play by ID Ignite. Winning that bit of a messy scrap there in the mid lane. Getting tower, good Herald drop as well. Almost got so much more really close to disastrous for Akuma, but instead just makes this game just about dead even.
Yeah, and I mean, you can start to see a little bit of the struggles with Akuma's team comp. Even though they had a really good play at the beginning of the fight and it started looking really good, once it started getting a bit more extended, the Xin Zhao just did not die. And then once the Varus died, they just had 0 damage. They just ended up getting out-sustained by the Seraphine and the Xin. It's just, it's really difficult. You really have to protect the President here if you're going to hope to win these fights, because as soon as Fluke died, it just, the fight completely turned.
Yeah, you could see it almost immediately. The second Varus falls, they're immediately on the back foot because they just have Sanjuni and Marzon left, and that's all Crash down. Going to cancel the Leona's engage. Just fighting over vision here. Classic engaged support slapfest. And right now we're back in a little bit of a lull. Only objective up now is Otacon. And it is going to be the Voracious Otacon, I believe.
Yes, that is the
Yep.
Voracious Otacon that just spawned. And so actually what I hope to see from both teams here is just looking to set up around the objective, but not actually start the objective, because I do think whoever starts this objective is pretty disadvantaged. Voracious Otacon doing so much damage to your front line, as well as the buff is not really valuable unless you're able to use it to get an objective, because you can just kind of avoid them for 2.5 minutes, and then the revive is gone. So I do hope to see that, and it does look like it's happening, where just both teams are kind of stalling it out. And looks like
Oh,
CB
hook shot canceled here under tower. I don't think Galio is actually going to be able to do much to her, but she is tanking. She must have hit him on accident or hit him with the cleave of Tiamat. CB Batman so low, she might actually get picked by Galio. Nice Hexec ultimatum to dodge the Galio's E, and a beautifully played escape. Perfectly timed Hexec ultimatum. So close to a free kill to Galio. It would have been insane if a 5th kill of the game went on to him. Fluke, though, a little caught out. Chains of Corruption landing onto Rigor Mortis, gets him away. And Leona ult traded for his flash. Loki solo here as well. He's on the wrong side of history. Kraydog, Pillar of Autumn, and Fluke all here for him. Misses the E as well. He's so low, and he goes down, caught on the wrong side of the world. Just run down in a kill, going to the main win con of Akuma.
Yeah, just really, really good stuff from Akuma. The Camille just, I think, expected to kill the tower a little bit faster than she did. She got taunted, which is why she started tanking. But just really well played by CB Batman. I have to bring it back to that, because that was just really impressive how well he juggled and dodged all of the Galio Qs, and that was just really well done. But we do see that Akuma is still making a lot of plays on the map as well.
Yeah, I gotta say, Akuma a lot more in this game than I would think they should be from these comps. Just a lot of messy plays here from the side of ID. Hui, not near as strong as he was before, and he opts for a second item, Leandri's Anguish, with Swifties. I don't know how I entirely feel about this. There is a lot of tankiness. If you are going to go the Archangel's Embrace, you kind of do have to go Leandri's. Yeah,
Camille's looking for a flank?
Looking for a bit of a flank. Double TP. One bot, Camille and Hui. Gonna be a bit of a pincer. Kraydog's the only one caught in between now, but so is Galio. And it's a split fight for looking down each other's face, looking into each other's eyes, while CB Batman is just sitting here, lurking, waiting, watching. Hui going to land QW, just a little bit of chunk, but it is K-Sunday. Not the target you want to find. CB Batman just kind of has to here look awkward. Is he getting engaged on a little bit? He is, but he's just sitting here dancing, tangoing, waiting, biding his time, seeing if he can get an actual angle.
Engage on Fluke.
Ooh, massive engage onto Loki. Chains as well, gonna hold everyone down. Hero's entrance, but CB Batman on the back. Hexec ultimatum onto Fluke. 1 HP, and I'm so far behind Cass now. Oh, oh. Yeah, massive engage, and this whole fight is going to go the way of ID.
Yeah, I do want to highlight what CB Batman did, because it was actually really, really good. He put so much pressure on that flank that it actually forced the Galio to start fighting that Camille, which allowed them to get a lot more prio, get that mid-wave shoved, and then actually get them off of the river, which just gave them so much prio, forced them basically to take a losing fight. And you can just start seeing, like, as soon as CB Batman was able to just like let them walk into his team so that he can get the engage onto Fluke, it was just such a hard fight. Still a super, super close team fight, but just it's so hard when you don't have this Varus. This Varus is so much of your tank damage.
Yeah, it's played super well by Batman. You had to see how Akuma had to posture there, playing so far back, because the vulnerability that Camille possessed, just sitting there lying in wait, stalking like a Rengar, and then walked a little bit far forward. The hero's entrance, the chains, all really well played and well landed, but you leave your backside open to attack, and the Camille pounced on the neck of Fluke. And that was all that's needed to win these fights. Heavy is the head that wears the crown. and sometimes the crown is just too heavy.
Yeah, and now you're gonna start seeing where this comp I think is gonna get really hard. This Camille now has her Ravenous Hydra, which means that she can basically take whatever trait she wants into this Cassante, because she can just heal it up off of the next wave. And I think she at this point they just can't really 1v1 deal with her on side lane.
Yeah,
Looks like
Kratos
we're
Bow here.
bringing her
Unending
play.
Despair is a little short. Nice sphere to stop the Galio's engage onto Rig. Ulting out as well. Ultimately, probably not 100% necessary, but no faith in Loki. But can't really blame him. If you die there, it's really tragic. It would be a massive shutdown. Leona ult misses. Leona E misses as well. Tway Q misses as well. No abilities are going to land on their target from the side of ID, but either way, so strong, so oppressive in this neutral as well. Leona ult's going to be down. That's a lot of their pressure. Unending Despair about halfway up. Xin Zhao ult. Crescent Guard also about halfway up. And just taking a lot of heavy control around this red top side and Baron Nashor. Little bit of an engage here onto Galio, but Rig is so low, caught in the Strangle Thorns. But Galio low as well. If he's not careful, he might get picked too. Rig trying to run away,
Does he burn? Does he burn?
slowed by Rylai's Crystal Scepter. But Leandri's Anguish not enough to take him down. Leona looking for the E over the wall. The QW has to flash away from the Hui's damage. A lot of roots, so much damage going down. TP from Songjuni. A bit of a hook. Unending Despair goes completely wide. That's a lot of the fight turning pressure. If that lands there, that would have been massive. And it looks like everyone just has to back away.
Yeah, I mean, this is actually really big for ID. Again, like, even though they lose the Leona's cooldowns, and like the Leona ulti is such a low cooldown. It's about like 60 seconds at this point, I think. And it's just you know, you can even if you use it, like, it's not that big of a loss. But I think the big thing to highlight is that Cassante had the TP here. So Camille has TP advantage on this side lane. So and I don't think Galio can deal with this Camille. So if this Camille is pretty unleashed on this side lane, they can basically just force whatever fight they want around Baron, and Cassante either has to give up like 2 towers against this Camille, or he has to, or they just, you know, he just has to stay on side lane, and then they can just TP and win a fight around Baron.
At this point, TV Batman absolutely massive compared to that Cassante. And like I said in our pregame, so many win cons here on the side of ID Ignite that it doesn't really matter which one's strong, as long as one of them's strong, they're massive. And we see right now 3.5 of them super strong. Sarah is big, high CS numbers, a kill, 3 items. Camille soon gonna hit our 3rd item spike as well. Same with Hui. Massive team fight potential. Really good split push from Camille. She's gonna have so much pressure now that his TP is down. And they can really look to force a fight here. Speaking of teleports, looks like she's gonna teleport early. It's onto a ward. They're just gonna go for Audit Khan. Makes sense. Baron Nashor is up now. They actually have something to fight for. Cassante on the other side of the map, going to have to run an ultra marathon to get here in time. I think he's just going to catch mid, and they might give it. Look for a steal, a flip. It's such a hard look. I think they're just going to have to give it. It's so rough to give. They're being really indecisive. Now they're going to get looked on. Chains of Corruption, Unending Despair as well. All ults going down. Solar Flow in the backline. Good cleanse from Fluke. Massive Heroes entrance. Crescent Guard as well. Rigor Mortis now in the backline. All out. Stealing away Loki. And Withdrawal. Rigor Mortis gets killed. CB Batman finally takes down Syra. Flashes over the wall. Fluke low as well. Also forced withdrawal. Fluke 1 HP. Might burn out. But no, just barely lives. And that fight was so close to being absolutely massive for ID Ignite. Borderline game winning on the spot, but just barely able to hold off on the side of Akuma. Almost disaster. Still not very good. You're going to lose a 3rd dragon here. Your tempo is shot. Multiple members of your team died, but it could have been worse. Really well played by Fluke. Very quick cleanse on the ults landing back on him. Able to just barely kite away from Rigor Mortis. And bad, but could be worse.
Yeah, just the Seraphine ult actually just went wide off of that cleanse because the Seraphine just went off of that CC. So it looks like they just got a good pick onto the Sgalio. Sgalio just
Yeah,
not
Galio's
respecting Fog.
just dead. Just dead. Nothing more to say. Just a dead Galio. Just not
Looks like
respecting
they're
where they are on the
trying to
bot
push
side.
their mid, but not really able to do much here, as it just looks
Flash
like
forward solar flare landing onto Fluke, pulled back away by the rally solo magnet storm. Fluke flashing the QW. Does he get away again? He's getting away with murder. Kraydog going to die for his ADC Sinzo. Autumn might here as well. Both so slowed, one by Rylai's, one by Zinzao. And Fluke burns Flash, burns everything, but gets away with his life. Ultimately, I don't think it's going to mean very much because it's like an impossible contest here. No chains of corruption, no flash on Fluke, no way to survive any engages. Desant might look for something, but CB Batman's so strong, going all out really early, trying to chunk out Batman, but that Cho'Gath ult on Batman on Camille Q is just going to chunk him so low. Baron
do we see a
down to
throw from
3k
Zara?
HP. Autumn might flash over the wall. Flash! Smite! What big play! Crescent Guard going in. Hextech ultimatum is shown on Fluke. 1 HP. Hero's entrance. Fluke just barely living. Reg has to go in as well to finally finish off the kill. Loki well has to flash away. Galio, half HP. Everyone's low, but there's not much more he can do here. Massive play on the flip by Pillar of Autumn. The Zyra jungle flashing over the wall. Massive smite steal. But even still, it's a 4-for-1. Getting the Baron is just band-aids on bullet wounds, and they're probably going to get at least mid-inhib here with the respawn timers. I think that's all they can take, but still, well played by both sides. Amazing play by Autumn to get that kill. Was really close to going either way, but no sustained damage in this draft by Scimitars makes it so hard to play whenever you lose 1 or 2 members early or your Varus gets engaged on. And we saw both happen there.
Yeah, just overall, like, even though they did steal the Baron, just like a really bad fight afterwards. I think they should have just left the Zyra as soon as they stole the Baron, but they just ended up opting to fight. And I mean, now it's only the Rel that has the Baron, so which means that Rel can't really roam to anywhere that doesn't want like that doesn't have like the Baron buff. And it's just overall still a very even though like they did steal the Baron, I think this is just such a commanding position. Who kills Rigor Mortis and CB Batman right now? It just feels so hard.
I don't think anyone can, and if they can kill one, they certainly can't kill both. The win cons in this game for Akuma are so few and far between. You have to play for Varus, putting on an absolute clinic and 1v5 in this team, but it's so hard. Even with scripter movement, it's just almost impossible. You're gonna get engaged on by Camille or something. A little bit of fighting around vision in the bot lane. Top lane is just gonna be a bit of a slap fight for a little bit, but Rigor Mortis, so strong. Seraphine is so strong. Hui is so strong. Batman just Cho'Gath queuing on repeat. And even with Baron, they're about to get sieged on here. The 4-1 Camille is so strong, just eventually gonna whittle away this Cassante. And game state so rough for Akuma.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, this Camille is just completely murdering everybody. About to have the Sterix too, I believe, off of the gold of this tower, and it just feels so hard. I mean, they're about to get the Sterix on the 2 bruisers that are diving their backline, and they really just, if the Fluke is really the only one who can kill them now, and even though Fluke is pretty tanky with that Wit's End against all these magic damage dealers, we now see there's a lot of pen coming out of Akuma's style, as well as the Rabadons out of Seraphine, which once that Seraphine gets that Rabadons, her shields become massive, and they have no
Ooh,
way
an
of dealing with that.
unending despair here gonna land on Kraydog, but that's not a good target. That's not gonna get much done. That's one ability down for this upcoming fight. For Soul on the side of ID Ignite. TP used as well. All 5 here. We're gonna engage on Cray Dog. Solar Flare. Not gonna hit anything. Has to get cleansed away. Heroes entrance, CB Batman on the side, onto Autumn, Fluke, 1 HP, Rig's gonna pick him up, Batman's gonna pick up Autumn, Hextech Ultimatum on the Cray Dog, so low as well, K-Sante going all out, picks up 1 on the Leona, picks up 2 on Zenzao, Galio, low HP, K-Sante versus the world, and the world is so much bigger, and that is going to be all she wrote for Game 1.
Yeah, just a really, really strong play from ID overall. Just like really well played. Even though they did end up actually having some pretty sloppy early game, just understanding the strength of your comp and just playing these fights super well, scaling well, just completely taking over this game and just scaling and just winning the game.
Yeah, I mean, that game was lost 36 minutes ago, in my opinion. It's so hard to play with the win conditions there. Just so many things that you just cannot have go wrong. And when one of them falls, when Varus gets mined at all, Varus gets picked, or just the entire game doesn't go your way immediately, comp is just so hard to play. And we saw it happen there. They stayed even for so long, but it doesn't matter. An even game is not one that you can win with a comp like that for Akuma. And the game went the way we expected it to. But honestly, 16 minutes later than I expected it to. Akuma has chosen blue side for this start, for next game. Be interesting to see how they adapt their strategy now that they're switching sides, what their prio picks are. Last game we saw that first pick of Hui from ID Ignite. Decent pick on their side, but not sure what prio pick they would be looking for blue side.
Yeah, just I think they must be trying to look to get rid of a ban and first pick it, maybe the Wukong, maybe the Jarvan, maybe the the Ari, just like trying to get rid of something to give themselves a little bit more wiggle room in draft. So I can imagine they are probably just looking to either take away one of the prio picks that was just played in that game, or they're just looking for a early just to get rid of one of their bans and free up a ban for maybe the Zinzao or the Camille or the Seraphine.
Yeah, I mean, Xin Zhao was scary that game, I will say. But none of the rest of Xin Zhao and Camille, I think, were really scary, those 2 games. Those might be worth changing your draft around, but the Seraphine, Leona, and Hui didn't seem like didn't seem like massively impactful picks in that game. I think that game just came down to a bad draft, an unforced error from Scimitar's side, so less about what I want to see them take away and what I want to see them learn from that game, especially looking at their comp.
Yeah, I mean, I think they just need to build a comp that has a bit more of a flexible win con. Putting everything into the fluke basket, even though he played so well, it's just really, really hard to do.
Yeah, I mean, when the Sword of Damocles lingers over your head like that as an ADC, and especially into that composition, I mean, I don't think it even matters how good your Varus is at past 20 minutes into that game. It's so hard for you to live the Zinzao engage, the Solar Flare engage, the Hextech Ultimatum. There's only so many things you can cleanse, flash, and kite away from. And I just don't think there's any way that you can both carry that game and live for more than 10 seconds in a fight.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so hard. They needed more peel to be able to peel off that engage if they were going to try to save Fluke there, but it's just so hard to peel that kind of comp. They have so much dive, and then the follow up from Seraphine. I mean, if he doesn't have sums, he can't play the game essentially.
Yeah, I think that's just a game of too many tanks, too many beefcakes. You don't have anything to do damage, and your only consistent backline threat is too vulnerable. Those tanks do not do a good enough job to peel and play protect the puppy on this Varus, and I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how they adapt going forward, but that whole draft just fundamentally really hard to play for. Zyra does not do enough damage sustained to carry the rest of that damage out, so it's all Varus. And I don't really know. They're just going to need to pick a mid with more damage, maybe switch to a more bruiser-focused jungler. These mage jungles force you to play in a really certain way, and if your team can't adapt around that super well, then it could be a little rough. And we kind of saw it here, just too much beefiness and too much pressure on two players to perform, and even when they played well, it's just there's only so much you can do.
Yeah, it's just like I said, like we've said so much before. It's just so difficult for people to play that game. As Akuma played very well. I was actually super impressed with their macro, and I actually think they played early game better than ID, but just the draft gap was just too insane in my opinion. It just became even though they were even, it felt like they were always like 5,000 gold behind just because it was all it like their comp is just so weak into the opponents.
Yeah, I do have to hand it to Akuma there. I think they played super well in that early game, making that kind of questionable comp work out. And to be fair, that was before a lot of the obvious weaknesses in the 1-4-1 and team fight of that team could show themselves. Sort of a lying malignancy in the comp. And no matter how well they played there, unless they in that game before big team fights break out in the 15-20 minute mark, that game was just destined to die. But yeah, I mean, it was well played. A lot of those fights from ID Ignite overforced, especially in that top lane with CB Batman. That was a big gold flip that kept the game going as long as it did. He looked over the wall and just did not have the damage to kill the targets quick enough before Akuma could collapse on him. And they picked up a few kills there, and it was a really clean fight. And some of the other plays top lane, Sanjuni had a really good performance early on in that game, and then it just became so hard for him to keep up with the Camille. Even on Cassante, that true damage will just shred you down and completely out-pressured by the backline threat of Camille.
Yeah. So what are you feeling would be the best course of action for Akuma now that we're in draft phase? Do you think they should leave up the Wukong and first pick it? Maybe look for the Hui, taking away the Hui, as it looks like they're looking to ban the Aurora again, just taking away that very strong team fight threat from Loki.
I mean, you could play to take away the Hui here. I wasn't super impressed by the Hui's performance, but it wouldn't be a terrible early pick. It's a little iffy here. You also just might... I mean, if Cinder is up, I think you take that really early. I just don't think it's going to stay up. Otherwise, I'm not super sure on what you want to prioritize here. Wukong did get a bit weaker this patch, but I don't know if it's enough to actually drive him down the priority list or not. I believe they nerfed his W and his E a bit.
Wow,
And let's see what the
Akuma
last ban is.
electing to not even ban the Wukong. I mean, that must mean that they're going to first
Well,
pick it, I imagine. But they also left
maybe,
up a
but
lot of things from ID.
Syndra's up here as well.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, if I'm making the calls here, I think you just take Syndra.
Yeah, I think
Leave the
it
Wukong
just
up.
yeah, I mean the Syndra can get caught, but I think just give your mid laner their best champ. They clearly were outperforming, as it
Oh,
looks
and
like they don't even take it. They take
Ambessa
the Ambessa.
blind. That's a statement. Ambessa, strong champion, but can get shut down decently easy. She's weak to heavy CC. She can actually be surprisingly squishy if you can get some distance between you and her. Public execution can mitigate a lot of that weakness, but it's just a bold thing to be one blind. Very strong, but I think has a lot of exploitable weaknesses here. Be interesting to see how ID Ignite actually responds. And pick one is Viego. Viego also receiving some nerfs this patch, a 3 base AD nerf, and then Syndra from ID Ignite. I like that pick. I like both of those picks. I think they're both really good here. Viego's still strong. I don't think that nerf was enough to push him down. And Syndra, one of the best champs on the patch right now. I would say probably the best mid laner. That is my take. Especially in
Yeah,
a
really
setting like here, like an
surprising.
M100 cap. So strong.
Yeah, really surprising as it looks like they're taking the Hui in the response to the Syndra. The Zambessa is a flex pick, being able to be flexed. Actually, it looks like take the Xin Zhao instead. So the Zambessa looks like it's just being forced
Taking
into
both.
top lane
Yeah.
blind, which I think that just leaves CB Batman on 3 to just take a really strong counter pick. I mean, I know the Renekton is really strong into it, but you could also just do like a Malphite and just play pretty heavy CC, but knowing CB Batman, I think he's gonna look up to play something a bit stronger and a bit more of a early game threat. But I do think that's a little bit of a blunder from Akuma, getting rid of the flex pick option and
I'm gonna
just
say
sort of
Leona.
showing everything.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a blunder, maybe. I guess they're right about Hui getting taken ADC as well. Xin Zhao, I'm not sure why they felt the need to pick it so early. I don't know if that actually gets banned if it goes down to the next phase, but it may have. I haven't done as much scouting as they have, but I guess they wanted here. They saw how strong it was last game. I want to see how strong it can be in their hands. Rom
Yeah,
ban, Renekton ban.
and I think the Leona Ben is just the ID saying let's give our support a champion that's just really strong and also just really comfortable. And just let them have some sort of CC because this Viego Syndra do need something to lock down so they can get these picks. And Leona does offer that a lot. I think Steve Batman also just has such a wide pool that he's not really worried about getting banned out as much as like getting rid of the Leona or something like that. And I just imagine they're probably going to either pick AD here and give CB Batman an R5, or they're going to just give their ADC an R5 pick, which it's something you rarely see as the
Yeah.
Nami's band, which is actually I think that's a really good band. It's one of the strongest supports in the game, in my opinion, right now.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely.
just I think she's rivaling like Lulu and Leona right now for top support.
I think
And
just Lulu and Nami. Honestly, I think they're such a cut above the rest. Leona has good strengths, and especially this Leona, she was letting a lot of good solar flares to get the cleanse out early. Very impressive to see. And I do understand those bans. They're big disengaged tools, the both of them. And ID is looking to fight here. Basically what they're saying, both with their picks and their bans. I'm guessing this will be AD. Yon. It's not. It's gonna be TB Batman with Yon, I'm assuming.
yeah, CB Batman pretty I think well known for his Yon. I think he has a very it's like one of his like little pocket picks. I'm not sure how the matchup against Ambessa goes. I imagine it's just mainly a skill matchup, and I think that's just CB Batman saying I'm confident I can beat this guy on my own. And as we look into what they want bot lane, it looks like they're just gonna. I was about to say I think they're just gonna go something safe or maybe pokey, and they may just go like an Ezreal Karma, or maybe they may just go like Ezreal plus Rel. Just something that I think they do need a bit more engaged. So I would not be surprised if they look for a Rel angle here. I think that's probably their best bet here into this team because they do need something that can lock down the Syndra, Yone, and Viego.
Yeah, I think it's a decent look. You do need something to get in. It can be really hard to play Rel. I like Alistar as well.
Yeah,
I don't think Alistar's a
Alistar
bad look at
is
all.
it's hard into the Syndra, but everyone else is actually hard countered by Alistar. They mainly have AD damage outside of Syndra. Viego and Yone both can get really can just get their mobility stopped by Alistar. And also it's really good into the Leona lane. So I think it's a pretty good look, as I think that ADC may just go just like some type of hyperscaler. Yeah, Ziggs,
Ziggs,
something that
yeah.
just can kind of just go even and then just outperform this Ezreal later. Because this Ezreal is probably just going to be on an island this game. I imagine the Ambessa Yone are just going to be played for all game long, and Ziggs Ezreal are just going to be farming fest. But I think Ziggs just wins in the Farm Fest. I think he just kind of outscales and just becomes a complete menace, just throwing those bombs that just do so much damage in these chokes and fights.
Yeah, Ziggs does need to be played for a little bit. If you can play to his strengths and Syndra's here, which is a lot of neutral game pressure, so much neutral game pressure from ID Ignite. I do like that from their comp. Really good pick setup, neutral game setup. We have Solar Flare, Ziggs poke, Syndra's scatter, and then Viego has a really easy time getting resets on any of those. And I think this will just be an inverse of last game. We're going to see a lot less bot play and a lot more top play. We're going to see just looking on if we can get Mbessa or Yona ahead and see if they can carry the game. Mid and jungle, though, both could be pretty major win cons for both sides. And I think late game is where bot lane might actually have a chance to shine. But I think it will be fun to see either way. Looking at these comps here, Dira, which side do you favor before we head into game 2?
Honestly, I think it's pretty even. I think it's gonna come down to a lot of execution. It's just honestly, I think this game is gonna come down to which support's actually more active on the map and is in the right places at the right times. Because these top lane skirmishes, your main form of lockdown and making plays on the map is on this Leona and Alistar. They're your main CC tools. If this Ambessa comes online, she can just completely murder that entire team, especially if Yone's behind, because if Yone's behind, she just ults the Syndra. Syndra gets one shot in fights. However, ID on the other hand, if Viego and Yone get ahead, Mbessa is one of those champions where when she falls behind, she kind of just gets stat checked by Yone. And then also Viego, if he's ahead and just gets a reset off of like a Leona Syndra CC, he can just take over a fight, just turn into Xin Zhao or turn into Hui, just get those resets, just completely murder everybody. So I think honestly, if I think that ID's team comp is a little bit easier to execute, but I think these are very similar and very even drafts, and it's just going to come down to I think whoever gets that lead will just win the game.
Yeah, I agree to a point. I think this is significantly easier to play for ID Ignite, and I think I would give them the lead here. I think their neutral game is so much stronger than Akuma Scimitars. Don't get me wrong, this time Scimitars have a bunch of ways in this game. They have a lot of good strength. They have decent engage. Public execution could be a really valuable tool for breaking the neutral game. Xin Zhao has a bit of luck as well. Alistar too. Engages will just be a little hard. They need to not get poked out. The neutral game, the poke, the fish, the whole catch power of ID Ignite so much stronger. But if an actual fight breaks out where Xin Zhao and Mbessa can get onto ID, then I think it's anyone's game. But if you want my prediction, I think I have to give this one to ID Ignite.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Akuma actually has the opposite problem they had game one, where I think if this Bessa and Xin Zhao are not able to get online, it can be really hard, especially with this Xin Zhao not having any sort of enchanter. In my opinion, he's very similar to something like Gwen or Olaf, where he's someone who really wants to be playing with some sort of enchantment like the Seraphine. And so he's just going to have to be really careful, choose fights well, and get ahead enough to where that doesn't matter. Because I think that if the MS and Xin Zhao are not able to get online, this Ezreal is just going to get outscaled by the Ziggs, and it's going to be so much pressure on this way.
Yeah, I think for now we're going to head to a bit of a break, and we will be back with game 2 of Akuma Scimitars versus ID Ignite on LXC Season 2 Winter Split Warden Week 3. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be back for an exciting game 2.
There's my home, there's my wall. See, it's the flower, mine is lost.
Hello and welcome back to ID Ignite versus Akuma Scimitars. 1-0 the way of ID Ignite. Sides have been swapped here, and it's going to be an interesting game. I saw in chat there were a little bit of questions about the patch notes things I brought up earlier. The main changes I was referencing are to the grubs and to dragons. They changed around the souls a little bit. Chemtech soul got a buff, and Cloud Soul got a nerf, while Void Grubs themselves got a nerf, and Otacon got a massive nerf. Voracious has been moved to a 15-second stasis, which is triple the time, and a few other things about it changed around, so there's a lot less priority on that objective and on Grubs as well. But that was all I really had to bring up about patch notes. As
Yeah,
for some
I think
actual
we can
choices in
definitely
this game, hold on. These summoner spells, flexing their master's ranks here. 3 teleports on both sides. Both ADCs taking a teleport. They are not going to play lane.
Yeah, actually, this is something I've been seeing a lot on, especially on mages, but also even on like the ADCs like Smolder and Ezreal that play more like that poke style. They just, I think it's really good for lane, gives you that ability to take good pretty easy resets, especially when you're getting low on mana, especially in a lane like this where I imagine both ADCs are kind of just going to be playing pretty passively. They're just going to kind of be trading waves, trying to hit each other's spells. They don't really need that barrier until later in the fight. I am a little bit shocked that the Ezreal didn't take the cleanse, but I guess he's just confident that he'll be able to dodge it. So we see a little bit of fighting top lane, but I think that the extended trade's going to go in the favor of Batman, really showing his proficiency on this champion.
It is a little bit, but big extended trades, or not extended trades, short trades are really good for Ambessa, longer trades are good for Batman, but the sustain duel is going to go the way of Ambessa here, going grass. Batman's a little bit low, could be in kill threat range if he's not super careful. Gonna be a lot of trading around mid. Syndra needs to be careful here. She gets way out damaged early. Once she gets to 40 stacks, this lane is hers, but she is vulnerable here early. Has to be careful to not lose a lot of HP. Especially whenever Viego and Zinzao are here, both might want to actually look for some fights early.
Yeah, it looks like actually the Yon was able to crash the wave, so actually his trade was not that bad. He was actually able to get a decent reset because he was able to crash. Not exactly sure how that was able to happen, but he's just gonna end up TPing here. Probably gonna force the Ambassador to TP after she clears the wave here, and then just I think pretty standard laning as both junglers are pathing towards top side. But if you see this, Sin
I
is
mean,
really behind.
Sin is here for Songjuni Flash. It's trying to bait for Autumn, but Autumn's not close enough for that bait to be worth much. It's just gonna burn Flash. Autumn and Rigor Mortis both on this top side, skirmishing a little bit, down a level. That's 600 gold, and Autumn is going to die for it. First blood onto Rigor Mortis, pathing to equal sides and behind, looking super aggressively. And this is not the start you want to see going into game 2 if you are Akuma.
Yeah,
Already on their back foot early.
I'm not sure what actually ended up happening with the Zinzao. The Zinzao only I didn't look like it looked like both junglers full cleared, but it seems like Zinzao just kind of wasted time looking, I guess, for maybe
I
a
mean,
mid play, and he
Zinzao
just
skipped camps, no? Skipped
yeah.
skipped Gromp.
Yeah, he skipped 2 camps, but he was also at the play pretty much at the same time as Rigor Mortis when he full cleared. So that's just an absolutely detrimental thing for Zinzao here. He's behind on tempo on his camps, as well as he gave over the kill to the Viegos. This Viego's absolutely insanely ahead now.
Yeah, it's really bad. Loki's gonna get poked out pretty hard if he's not careful, but really low. Might be a look here for Autumn on the Syndra, but no, just gonna back off. Now Hui is super low, really low on mana. And the thing about Hui, as many abilities as you have, you are mana hungry. And although you have a free mana thing to gain a back, using your WE is really risky, especially in a mages, because you can't just auto that way for free. And at this HP, it's really hard for you to gain back your mana. Just forced to take a pretty rough back here. Oh, gets cancelled? It's hard to see it on the map with the fighting happening top. Just skirmish trade. Mbessa Yon is just going to be constant
And
flash of
for
colors.
Gates here.
Autumn is looking. Batman flashes early to not get caught in the slow. Flash forward barely misses on the strike. Coming in one more auto to knock up. 1 HP and Sing finally gets the kill. Really close to shield from Yon W. Kind of anticlimactic, but kill does go the way of Sung Uni, and pressure
Yeah,
he
and
needs to get back in the game.
That's a huge swing, especially since Mbessa in this matchup does just win or win pretty hard early. Yon kind of needing that, that attack speed and that a little bit of his items and levels before he's really able to start taking over this game. And this Mbessa getting a kill just makes this matchup so much more difficult early. Really good sidestep by CB Batman, but unfortunately it just was not enough. And that's just a very big kill over to the Mbessa. They can now pretty much freely contest grubs because this Mbessa is over, like probably about like 400, 500 gold ahead at this point off of that kill. It looks like they're just going on CB Batman.
Yeah, but they are looking on him again. Batman has the fate unsealed. Ooh, Autumn gonna sidestep it. Batman's so low, and he may be untethered, but he can only be untethered so long. Gonna try and Q3 away. Does he? There's no way he actually lives. I'm pretty sure that was misplayed. I don't think there's any way he can get out there if that's played better. And Kraydog might be looking on a play onto Loki. Loki still has scatter up as far as I'm aware. Oh, he's gonna land it actually. Gets the stun off. Pillar of Autumn. Good player on the elevation. Scatter misses though, used really early. Immediately queued by Leona. Ult coming out early. Autumn so low. The unending despair as well. Gonna take him down. Loki so low HP. The Ruined King on the Hui and gets another ulting for it again. Loki's low here. Doesn't have buttons. Leona dies first. Rig is gonna die too. I don't think there's any way he gets a kill here. Never mind. Syndra just barely getting the Q. Loki allowed to walk up. Now Kraydog has to flash away as well. Scatter's gonna land just for another stack, but that's the end of the fight. And massive for Rigor Mortis. You thought Viego was big before. Look at him now. Double the CS of Zinzao. 3-0. And once he gets this pack, he is going to be so strong. And the QW takes down Loki. Just not careful, being careless around Hui. And gets attention checked. You can't even really get caught in animations, Cinder. I don't know how that happened, but
yeah, I guess there's a little bit of a misplay. Batman did get that good escape earlier in the fight. I think just off of him being able to hit the Qs, and them not kiting at his Qs and giving him the Q3. But this Viego now is 1.2k gold ahead of this Zinzao. This Zinzao has done 33 CS, which is about, I want to say about like maybe it's not a lot of camps, maybe like 2 full clears. And he's now so
it's not too it's a clear and a half.
Yeah, I mean he is so behind, as it looks like Batman's looking for a pretty strong trade here. Forcing the flash. Wow.
Yeah, flash. I don't know if flash was necessary. I think even if the fate sealed lands, I'm not super sure. I haven't played a ton of Mbessa. I know she's a little squishy for a bruiser, especially with the pull he's going, but I'm not sure if that would have actually been lethal, but does save a bit of HP. To burn the flash. Fate sealed down as well. Scatter going to land. And Syndra here getting very strong. Play's main power point in this lane is coming to an end, and it's about to be the dawn of a new day for Syndra. She's just going to start taking control of this mid lane, and it's about to get even worse for Akuma.
Yeah, and you see now.
Kraydog looking for a big engage, but just walked away. Not much they can do.
This is about as I expected for this lane. I mean, they can get some good engages, but it is just an Ezreal versus a Ziggs. I'm surprised actually that we haven't been seeing a lot more roam plays on the map. I guess both supports just trying to get that level 6, and I imagine they're probably going to look for a bit more aggressive plays now that they do have that 6. But if you notice top, even though Mbessa is 2-1, honestly she's not even that ahead, because CB Batman has 30 CS ahead, and I think he has some turret plates as well.
Yeah, it looks like they're pretty much dead even, and Yon is very strong. You have to be careful here, Hui. Loki misses scatter, so never mind. You don't have to be that careful, but bordering on kill range. Syndra has a really high kill range. TB Batman getting looked on here. Public execution goes wide, but Autumn is here. Although Batman flashing forward, pulling back the tether is enough to kill Songyuni. Batman here looking to 1v1 Autumn, and he does! The 2 versus 1 big play, the public execution off by a foot. And that's the difference between life or death in that gank. And 2 kills on Iona's so bad. Unending Despair lands, flashing forward, dodging the E and the Q, but just barely enough to not kill Hui either. Gets QW'd again, but it's not going to be enough to kill. No burn on the Hui. Do not fall for it again. Do not get hit by another.
Yeah,
He's
I
just
mean,
going to back away.
Batman just really abusing the fact that the Ambessa went really, really early on that play. The Zenza was only really there when Ambessa was about 30% HP, and that just wasn't enough with the tether. Extra damage, the 30% damage on the tether is just really, really, really strong. Yone is so unbound, able to stall out fights really well, and also gives him so much movement speed to play around fights and kite out.
Yeah, that play mid was so close for both players. Syndra dies there if Hui can hold that E, but was so committed to that full combo. Did not expect Syndra to flash forward. And Syndra, one more auto lace in there, kills as well. Scatter used early. You got to be careful. Alistar is right there. Jinzao is right there. This scatter is a big cooldown. Gonna look for a bit of damage onto Leona, but it is a Leona. Rig getting chunked out as well. Ignite burned early. Don't think either side is gonna get much done here.
Yeah, I think ID just looking to stall out the fight a little bit, let Ziggs come mid, but it looks like actually they're just opting to looks like they're giving Steve Batman in a bit of a. I mean, he has a soul unbound.
No, he's
but
just fine. He's putting
he's playing
so
so aggressive now.
so
with
much pressure. He has this Blade of the Ruined King. He has more stain than this sustain than this Mbessa. More quick damage, more push, more everything. And she's just playing to try to survive and get back in this game. Trades out mid, but it's really rough for Akuma. Top lane and jungle and mid, their prospects are only getting worse. The only one who has a good look in the future is going to be the Ziggs, and actually they don't really have anyone. This Ezreal is the only one on their team that's really that strong at all. And Bessa has a little bit of kill threat, but looks rough early here in the second game. Big trade.
Yeah, I mean,
Quick trade though. Massive chunk on the Batman.
Yeah, and now the Ambessa I think can survive a little bit more. This Eclipse item is just so strong on Ambessa with the shield that she already gets in her kit. And it looks like Quay is just dead.
No, Hui's not dead. Flash over the wall from Autumn. Crescent Guard as well to knock away Leona. Gets the kill on the Loki. Has to be careful. Yeah, that's just not enough to kill when you are rushing Blackfire Torch on Syndra. A build, in my opinion, as a Syndra player, is complete bait. If you build it, I have words. Ooh, tries to public execution to predict what Batman is going to do with the Fate Sealed, but the 2-level, the 1200 gold difference from that alone. Kraydog gonna get nuked by Kush and Fluke, 1 HP as well. Leona flashing forward, but barely not enough damage. Brigamortis here, probably gonna be able to clean up though. Ezreal wants it back, but nowhere is safe, not even in your own house. And the Ruined King heartbreaking away. Easy kill for him. Another big kill. And another big kill topside as well.
Yeah, and I mean this is just starting to see why this why Steve Allen loves this Yun so much. He's completely unleashed now that he has a lead. He's just kind of stat checking this Ambessa. This Ambessa can get some good short trades, but as soon as he starts getting into a extended trade, the Yun just completely runs her down. It looks like
We have a TP from both Ezreal and Yon here. One of those is a lot scarier. And Batman gonna get Q2, gonna just try and Q3. I think they're just gonna try and finish off Kraydog here. And not even the repeat damage, just straight up kills the cow. And Yon eating good tonight.
Yeah, I mean, Yon is just completely taking over this game now. They really don't have a lot of CC that can even stop this Yon. This Yon now, looking like 2,200 gold ahead, and this Viego as well around the same amount. I mean, this
Solar flare down on Mazion, just going to die to the Cinder's kill button, unending despair, trying to look for a trade back, but it's not enough. Falls to the Cinder's unleashed power, and really bad for Hui as well. None of the lanes here are having a good time. The time Ezreal is strongest compared to Ziggs is probably about now, but Ziggs getting in this game as well. Looks like a big look on the Batman, tries to Fate Sealed away. Soul Unbound, Soul Rebound, dodges the public execution with Q3 and flashes over the wall. Beautiful escape. So well played. That dodged 3 members of Akuma. What a
Yeah.
play.
See Batman just kind of playing with his food right now, just dodging every single skill shot that comes out. I mean, they're trying so hard to shut him down, but they're just not really able to. As Mbessa's
And here
getting
they are.
pretty aggressive.
They come again. No Fate Sealed. We see it again. Soul Unbound. Gonna stack up Q3. Probably take it back. No, he's just gonna look and beef. It's what's for dinner again. But so is Yon. And a big shutdown onto Mbessa. The cow must die for it. A blood sacrifice. But a worthy harvest either way. Loki looking on the fluke here. And I mean, he's low. Flashing forward, landing the Q and the Unleashed Power is enough to take him down. Welcome to playing ADC, buddy.
Yeah,
Get
well,
one
I
shot
mean,
by a Cinder out of a bush.
yeah, just really, I kind of cast her curse to the CB Batman there, just saying that he was pretty kind of playing with his food and just not dying, and then he just immediately gets 3-man, just not respecting the roam from the Alistar. And that's a pretty hefty shutdown. I think the 1-for-1 is very Akuma favored for that. Just getting this Mbessa back in the game, even though she is still behind. You know, every little bit of gold is going to be a pretty good thing for Mbessa, because once she starts getting those items, she can just one-shot this Yone if he's not careful.
There are 0 people on the Akuma team that are ahead of their opposite. And you hate to see that, especially 18 minutes into the game. Going to be so hard for the comeback. Loki getting engaged on here. This could be a good look. No more scatter, and Loki just going to get slowly whittled away by 3 full strikes.
Yeah, and that's one of the main weaknesses of Syndra. As soon as she doesn't have that scatter, she doesn't have flash. If she gets jumped on, she's pretty dead. She doesn't really have a lot of ways to peel herself. Once that, and the E cooldown is pretty long on that scatter of the week.
Yeah, it's a decently long cooldown. It is a big weakness of Syndra, but most made. What do I even need to say there? Mbessa just walks up into the Yon Q3, juggled around with Fate Sealed, and it's just that easy. Kush, big flash, dodging some damage there as well. Solar Flare, landing on the fluke, flash forward from Leona, so low. Loki's here as well, and Cray Dog just gonna get chunked down. Unleash power to finish off the cow. Not necessary, but never take chances.
Yeah, I mean, just overall, again, like really well played from ID, just playing really well together. I do see that Akuma still is doing a very good job of never really trying to just give and always trying to look for a follow-up play, but unfortunately just not able to get enough of that. They're
Tower's
just
gonna
kind of getting
fall
walled right
here.
now.
Gonna stack up Q3 as well. Might look to just kill Mbessa outright. Solo Rig is low. They're gonna have to back all the way up here. Still a big skirmish top. Mbessa's 1 HP. Viego falls to the QW sniper. Was it a QQ snipe? Couldn't even see. Leona solo. Fluke looking forward. Low. Just barely misses from Autumn. QW picks up another. And jeez, I have never seen so much done with Hui's Kog'Maw ultimate. That is not his strongest ability, not even his strongest ability in his Q form, but making it do numbers this game. Very impressive. Clearly an AP Kog'Maw mid player.
Yeah, I mean, Hui picking up a lot of kills. I mean, that was a really hefty shutdown on the Viego, and I mean, suddenly this Hui is a bit of a threat. He's actually now ahead of the Syndra.
Wow.
But not by much,
We
but
haven't
it
just
is
gonna
still a
face
very
check a
good
bush.
win con.
I don't know if Autumn and K-Dog are enough to take him down. They are eventually. Good dodge. But the bomb here as well. Everybody's here, even if it's over the wall, cheering them on. And Hui gets another. I think that's might be best case scenario on who that kill goes on. Not 100% certain, but it's a big pick whenever objectives are up. Maybe even look for more of a fight here, but still so many strong members of ID that even with the one big pick, there are many more forces than their fleet, and it's not just the battleship that matters.
Yeah, I mean, this way is extremely strong, and now Akuma actually has a very strong win con that they can play for. They just really need to be careful about playing around this way. ID are going to be looking to shut down this way because once Way dies, they really don't really have that much in the tank after that. But this way is getting just a lot done with these long range spells. With the setup from the Alistar and the Xin Zhao, just able to pick up a lot of kills and just do so much damage.
Yeah, yep. Just kind of have to play around him. He's the only strong member right now as this way. Almost a flame horizon in the jungle. This out really, really weak. Not just compared to Viego, but just compared to their team in general. Really hard for him to duel. Can only really duel the mages, but even then, might just get bursted out. Really hard for him to play Mbessa. A little better than that, but not a ton. Sitting at 2 items at least. Syndra, now, if you'll look, did just get Death Cap. Big power spike. Not sure how many Splinters of Wrath she's sitting on. I'm gonna guess somewhere in the 80-ish range. She's sitting at 91. Very strong. 9 more off that XC threshold. Probably gonna hit level 14 soon. She's really far behind on XP. Do need to mention that. She needs to hit one more, get a few more good trades, a few more cannons. She'll hit that 100 threshold. That is a big threshold for unleashed power. And
Looks like
looks
they're
like
starting the Otacon here.
they're gonna start Otacon.
Yeah, it's really smart play. Understanding they're looking for a play on CB Batman, they're gonna get this free objective. We'll see how much it can get done, but I mean
True
this
Shot Barrage
Otacon does
almost
have
picks off
hands.
Rig.
This Otacon has hands. Otacon's doing so much damage onto this Viego.
He really has hands.
About to
Rig is
die.
1 HP. I'm gonna have to play-by-play the Otacon fight here in a second. CB Batman flashes and ults away, but he did just get the Ruinous buff. Not sure if it was needed. Honestly, might have been able to look for a play. But understandable reaction. 2.5 items here on CB Batman. So strong. About to get stronger. Probably going IE third here. Going to go absolutely nuclear. Ooh, 4 looking on CB Batman. Even if they get him here, though, it's just going to put him in stasis. But look, it's a big collapse. This could be massive. Solar Flare just clips one for the slow. On an Ending Despair, on a CB Batman. He is low now, but Fluke gonna get caught by Unleashed Power. Just barely lives CB Batman clinging. No, CB Batman sent all the way back to base in stasis. Same with Leona. And 1 for 2, but Pillar of Autumn chunked out here as well. Loki getting so strong. And then some more stacks for Syndra.
Looks like
And
they're
every-
looking to trade mid inhib here. This is a really good play. Just trying to stop bases with the Ziggs as they just get the inhib. This is why
Air for Mega Inferno Bomb, Mega
Warriors-
Inferno Bomb, gonna land on Pillar of Autumn, gonna stop the back. Not enough to kill with the slightly tankier build of Ziggs, but they're just gonna get mid inhib. And that's a big value. That's 400. Ooh, he has to be careful to not get chunked out here as well.
You think this is a little bit of an overstay here
Yeah,
by
it's
Rigor
overstayed.
Mortis?
Batman just has to leave, though. He just wants to proc his Otacon buff, but... Flash forward from Songyuni. Another tower goes down bot side. Batman might be looking to turn a play here. Tries to fate Soul Unbound out, but it's not going to be enough. Fluke just barely living. Almost made a play on him as well. Leona flashing over the wall. Very low. They're going to try and chase her down. They're going to get her. But it is a tier 2 bot. They couldn't pick up that top inhib. And another death for Sweet Batman. Rig as well, giving up his buff. And with the Otacon changes, that's 200 gold, I believe, still. Whenever you take down the... whenever you take down a person with the Voracious Otacon buff. So, you know,
Yeah, I mean,
even though it's not a
these
kill,
kills
it's a
are.
lot of gold.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a big misplay. I mean, giving over 200 gold is still 200 gold, and even though you got reset because you're playing with that Yon just gave over a kill, and Leona trying to help out that Yon, trying to get him out, just died for their sins. And even though it didn't really convert into much, it's still a pretty good stimulus check into the pockets of Akuma. Akuma is bringing back this game pretty well. I think they were at like 14-5 earlier. Now they're 17-12. So even
A
though they're
little bit.
still down gold,
A
they're
little
they're
bit,
they're
but the
coming back a
tower's
little bit.
down. Oh, they are looking for a big flip here. Just trying to sneak down the Baron. A Hail Mary call to try and get back in this game. So massive if they do get it down to 4K, but they know they're here. 1,000 and Smite. They do get it on the sneak. Unending Despair trying to peel away, and Bessa's the first to fall. Pillar on, I'm going to fall to the Heartbreaker as well. Now it's a rundown. Will Leona find one? Ease finds the way. Heartbreaker over the wall, rooted as well. And kill going on to Loki. And they get the Baron again. Akuma with a Hail Mary Baron play. But even with it, they aren't any better at the end of the day. They're going to lose Inhib here. And it's a big siege. The siege probably gets stopped by these Baron minions. We have 30 seconds before Hui comes up, 10 on Mbessa and Zinzao, but it looks like they're playing to end or at least get a tower here. Batman Q3 and forward. Good dodge from Fluke on the E. Gets scattered. Leona tanking tower. Falls. Tanking tower again. Cinder gets executed. Rig thrown into the fray. 1 HP trying to dodge out. Gonna get shot down by Fluke. And Mbessa trying to run down Kuch. Public execution flashed away from. And flip-flopping either way. It was a really greedy back location from Sigs, but I think he actually gets away with it.
Yeah, and I think
Really
just a bit
greedy.
of an yeah, just a
Really greedy.
greedy, just a greedy in general from ID. I think they should have just taken the gotten the kills, probably played for Dragon Tempo. It's just so hard to end against Baron minions, especially. I think if they did get the Baron, they could have easily ended, but just the Baron minions slowing down that push so much, and just a bit of an overstay. I think after they take the inhib, they should have just backed
Yeah,
off.
I mean, you're sitting on Soul Point. If you just keep up the pressure, there is no way they can take another breath. But when you go for the coup de grace, now you're giving them a little bit of leeway back into this game. Keep in mind, as of the new season changes, those towers on Nexus do respawn, as well as the inhibitors, which is going to be funneling a lot more gold into Akuma if they can stall this game out. They have a timer now, 4 minutes for Baron, 4 minutes for Dragon, and they just bought themselves a lot of time that they did not earn because of an unforced error by ID Ignite.
Yeah. Now Ignite, what they need to do is they just need to play around these side lanes, especially around and then just look for that reset. If Viego's so ahead, if he can get these resets, it's really good. But if they're not able to find that angle, they can just get a little bit bullied out by this Hui and this Ezreal. This Ezreal and this Hui still doing good poke damage, still have a ton of range, and it's so hard to even like end against the Hui and the Ezreal when they just have so much wave clear.
Yeah, I mean, they're just gonna try and bounce waves back and forth. Whenever this goes down, they will still have the only objective really up on the map right now is the Nexus. And with these super minions coming in, Baron buff just now falling away, the 113 is gonna put so much pressure and they're spread so thin. The question is where and when will they break? They're looking onto Batman here. He's just gonna come back. They're trying to force on him quick before he can end it on. Fate Unsealed. They're missing a lot of spells. CP Batman's gonna pick up Pillar of Autumn. Public Execution going to be used as well. And 2 inhibs falling here. Clinging on to the last shreds of life. But I'm not sure if there's an end potential here. They might look for it. Scatter used. If they want to engage, now would be the time, but I'm not sure if they do. But once these super minion waves come in and they start coming synced up, it's going to be so hard for them to defend and fight.
Yeah, I mean the honestly the a bit of the problem this game is just that CB Batman is getting these 1-for-1s, but CB Batman is also a large part of their gold lead. I mean, he's up 4K gold. I mean,
Mhm.
that's pretty much 2/3 of the gold lead just by himself. And so if he's able to, if he dies for a 1-for-1, I think Akuma's actually just relieved. They have so much less pressure on them. I mean, this Yone is like almost 4 items now, and he is getting a lot stronger. I think it's still so hard for Akuma, but I think they've stalled this game enough that the next Baron, I think, is going to decide whether it is a lights out for them or if they can maybe make this miracle happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be so hard to get back in the game now. Syndra, fully skilled, Ziggs so far online, and Yon so strong, Viego so strong, just everyone on their team so hard to deal with. It doesn't matter if it's 1, 2, 3 people, it's just such a hard look. And they're only 5. And I'm not sure how they're going to play this. Both Soul coming up for ID in 1:15 and Baron coming up in 40 seconds.
Yeah, and I think if you're ID, you actually just will go for the Baron 100%. I mean, they as long as they still have to deal with these inhibs, they can't really do anything. But I do think ID needs to be a little bit careful here. They're really far in the base, and if
Yeah,
Akuma's
I
able to
mean,
find something, they can just
Nexus towers are back. This could be the look. If there was ever a time to pull the trigger on the back foot and come out kicking, now would probably be the time. Yon pushing in, looking hard down south. Gonna trade heavy damage. Prey Dog, though, so low. Just gonna look in for a re-engage. Low, flashing away. And no kills either way. Prey Dog just gonna heal back up in base. They do have the sustain advantage from that, but red buff makes it roughly even this late in the game. And with all of the waves stacked up, it's going to be really hard if you want to contest this for Akuma. And with Baron, I don't know if they can hold out any longer.
Yeah, and I think IDs have just now realized that they just need to look for a or just look for that the Baron. They can't end through this Huehia just has so much wave clear. As they look like they're just going to secure the Baron. Probably just going to look to play the safe route, just get the soul, and then just look to brute force this end here.
You have to hard shove wave out as fast as possible here. If you're Akuma, and it's so hard. There's so many super minions. I don't think you can flip this. You're just gonna have to give up the Ocean Soul. And now, Soul and Baron and Gold and Towers and Grubs and everything in the world going to ID Ignite. There's one last objective they're yet to claim, and it's not Elder Dragon. It is the Nexus, and they are going for it now. Public execution, though, on Syndra. Super aggressive look, but it's into the entire team. It might be the only look they have, but reset already. Unending Despair might take out Leona, but she's such a hard target to finish off. Batman is on the back. He's hitting Nexus towers. 1 HP on Hui, flashing forward. Autumn is going to take down Syndra. It doesn't matter. Batman on the Nexus. The Alamo play. Will it work? So low on Batman, but he has so much to sing Q3 and forward. And Winions end the game before a finger can be lifted. And that is going to be the series going to ID Ignite 2-0.
Yeah, I mean, just it was a little bit of messy of the fight. You can see that Akuma did not understand that they had to just try to make a miracle happen there with that Baron, and unfortunately, it just wasn't enough. And Bessa had a pretty good engage, but they just weren't able to find the ending there. As it just seems like ID, I think just ID played the map really, really well. Steve Batman, even though he did die quite a few times on side lane, was putting so much pressure on Akuma, and they just weren't really able to deal with the Yone.
Yeah, so influential. CB Batman, easily the MVP of that match. Drew so much more pressure than one man should. Just absolutely put it on, made it so difficult for Akuma to get any breathing room in that game, to scale up, to have fight angles back in the game. From the start, it was hard for this Mbessa to play the game and just never getting strong. Hard champ to play from behind. It was a decent look there at the end. The cornered animal going for the head, trying to take out Syndra, but just not enough damage, giving Heartbreaker resets onto Viego. They got a few kills, but it wasn't enough. The pressure finally crushing down on their throats, and CB Batman ends the game practically by himself. Beautifully played from ID Ignite.
Yeah, and I mean this is the kind of dominance that we were coming to expect from ID before the season. Just a really strong team fighting, and even though they did have a little bit of a struggle in game 1, they just understood their win cons. They slowed down the game a little bit, and then they just completely took over late game. CVMN was, I just want to, even though we have highlighted him a lot, just was such a threat both games on the side lane, just being completely unleashed. As Rigor Mortis also just doing a really good job of just of just outpacing the Xin Zhao in this last game as well. The Xin Zhao was just down so much farm and just had basically nothing that he could play with outside of just being a tanky member on this team, and just honestly really well done from this ID team. All their lanes honestly played really well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Both games just, game 1, I think it's such a combat show that we couldn't really see the well played early and mid game, the strengths that they actually had for Akuma. We could not really see those come to fruition and convert into a game 1. And then game 2, not like game 1, a very early win, I believe. I mean, it went all the way to 34 minutes. Don't get me wrong, it was a great stall, but at no point was Akuma really in this game. Slowly, just life strangled away from them. The anacondas that are ID Ignite, the grievous wounds, and slowly ticked away. And no objectives, no gold. It's just so hard to play. Those games must feel so rough, especially if you're Autumn as a jungler, just getting completely, just all of your camp stolen constantly, no more lane pressure. So hard for Zen to play, hard for Hoi to play as well. Your neutrals all collapsing in on you. Fluke, I think, played really well, trying to make what chances they had, and just rough. The top side of the map got so far ahead, and that was it. That was the decider, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, although it is a 2-0, I do think Akuma did show signs of life. Even when they did start falling behind, they really did a good job of just, understanding that, the game is slipping. We're not going to we're going to go down fighting. We're going to look for plays onto CB Batman, even if we lose something in the process. We're still going out fighting, and I do expect both of these teams to be top contenders in playoffs or when they meet next, because I think they're both have been very solid teams.
Yeah. Yeah, I think both teams played really well there. I believe another match ended. Dear, if you want to report on that. If I
Yeah,
look.
let's take a look. Yeah, and it looks like Mint Gaming took out Definitely Not Ether so far, and I think with the other matches we're still waiting on match results on, but really well done to Mint Gaming. I think that will put them, let's see here. That would put Mint Gaming at, looks like, 2-1. So that puts them, I think, pretty firmly in the top 2 or the top 3, depending on if Goofy Gooners and Tilt Esports win their matches tonight for Rivals Week. Yeah, and then yeah, so one of these Tilt and Goofy, they are playing each other, and so that means that one of the undefeated teams will end up going 2-1, which could affect standings. So I think that Mint could have a chance to get that second seed in the bracket so far. As the other games are still going on, these games did go pretty quick on our side for the ID games.
Yeah. Well, I think overall it was a pretty good series. Very interesting one to watch. Both games went well into 30 minutes. Kind of surprising for game one. Expected it to end way quicker. In game two, I expected it to not be near as one-sided, but definitely breaths of life from Akuma, even getting 2-0'd. It is, it's hard to get 2-0 as a team, but whenever you have a game two where you did at least have signs of life and you tried to play good for that comeback, it was the Baron plays both games. The Hail Mary call to try and rush down the Baron, and if they could get a little more away, I think it would have staunched the bleeding a lot more than it ended up. They had to bleed a lot just to get that Baron, but it did buy them a lot of time. It was a good call, executed well, I think. If they just had a little more escape, that could have really got them back in the game. Game one, I think, too, the Zyra flash over the wall is such a good highlight. Even if the rest of their team did die for it, it didn't get them a ton. But again, great selling tactics. Well played there. I will be thinking about the Zyra flash over the wall probably for the rest of the night. We're about to close out here. Anything you want to say before we end the stream, Dira?
Yeah, I just want to say thanks to everyone watching. These are really fun games, and even though we are fill-in casters, we enjoyed watching these games a lot. And Alexi Warden is sure to continue being a banger, just like tonight. And thanks to all the teams for putting on a show tonight. Even though it was a 2-0, I think it was a very competitive and fun series, complete bloodbath. And overall, thanks so much for watching.
Yeah. Thank you all for coming out. Great having you. Maybe I'll be back one day. Who knows? Maybe the casters will keep not showing up and you'll see more of my face. But thank you all for coming out for ID Ignite versus Akuma Scimitars. Thank you all. Peace out. Have a good rest of your evening and hope you enjoyed.